Good evening and welcome to the 2017 mayoral debate for Fall River, the People's Debate. My name is Ricardo Robello. I'm Associate Professor of Communications at Bristol Community College. And tonight we have candidates here who will be debating over the position of mayor for the city of Fall River. To introduce the candidates, starting from our left, is Jordan James Sylvia. You can clap for that one.
You can clap. It's okay. They're not going to throw you out yet.
City Councilor Richard Cabaceras.
Thank you.
Ronald Cabral. And City Council Vice President Linda Pereira. We'd like to say that invitations were extended to all mayoral candidates for the debate tonight. Now let us begin. We're going to begin with opening statements. The first opening statement, won by lottery, goes to Jordan James Sylvia. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to begin tonight. I only have 2 minutes for an opening statement. I'm going to get right into it, why I'm here. Started last summer when the city passed, J.Zil Correa, along with the council at the time, passed the first budget, which increased taxes all the way up to the legal maximum. I told a friend of mine, Josh Silva, at the time, I said, if he did this again next year, I wasn't going to support J.Zil going forward, and they did the exact same thing. So there's been bad hires by the administration as far as DCM, had like several different people hired. You got snow owl investors being hired, things I don't agree with. You have the government being weaponized, with building inspectors being sent on every person basically that disagrees with J.Zil. There's tons of reasons why I didn't support the current mayor. So then I looked around at the people who were running, had Richard Cabaceras, I think was the first person to win out. His behavior at the meetings, basically arrogant, sometimes delusional. I could look past that. I have, people criticize me of the same, but he also is a revenue crusader, as I put it frequently. Supports the fee, the $10 fee, supports pay-as-you-throw trash bags. One universal truth, the government will never take care of other people's money as good as they'll take care of their own. And he's had problems taking care of his own money. So if you can't, pay your bills on time, if you can't manage a campaign account, you can't be trusted with, obviously, $280 million of other people's money. So I could not vote for him, clearly. Linda was next to announce. I don't care that Linda told a joke, an insensitive joke 20 years ago, why do black people have pubic hair on their head, they have sex on their mind. I care that she lied about it 2 weeks ago on Jean St. Pierre's show, so she has a history of lying during the meetings and whatnot. Also, for the past 20 years, she's been in the job. She has not known how to properly pass a budget, so the people that are running, I couldn't support, so I decided to run myself. Here I am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor Cabaceras.
Thank you, Mr. Robello, Mr. Sylvia, Mr. Cabral, Councilor Pereira. Thank you to everybody who's watching for investing in your community by watching debates and contributing towards a greater future. President John F. Kennedy said it best by asking, are we doing as much as we can do? His answer in 1960 was, I do not think we can. And I want to be clear, Fall River, I don't think we're doing enough. Economic development is stalled. Streets are more dangerous now than they've ever been because of gunshots and opioids. Infrastructure is crumbling. You deserve better. It's true, we're facing many challenges, but with a strong leader who has a clear vision, cooperative attitude, and unimpeachable integrity, we can overcome these challenges by working together. That's why I'm working hard to serve as your next mayor. Over the next hour, a lot of questions are going to be asked, and to every candidate, not only answer what you're going to do, but how you're going to do it. For too long, people have been saying what they're going to do, but very little times it's been delivered upon. So please, let's talk about how we're going to do these things. I'm prepared to share right now my plans to create a brighter future for all residents of the city of Fall River by working together, and I hope you'll join me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cabaceras. Mr. Cabral.
Good evening. My name is Ron Cabral. I want to thank all the candidates that showed up tonight. I want to thank Rick Labello. I was born and raised in this city, and I care about your city. I was born right in North End. I came to this middle school. I worked 10 years in retail at Family Dollar up the street. I worked at Bristol Community College. I worked at Gillette Stadium in 2014. I ran for mayor. This lecture is dedicated to my dad. It's all about education, public safety, economic development. As mayor of this city, I'm ready to run this city with dignity and the voters elect the next mayor, September 12, 2017. And I hope I go on to November 7th as you choose for all 88,000 plus residents in this city. It's time to move on. It's all about the difference up to the voters about public safety, education, economic development. It's all about you guys. And you choose the next mayor of the city of Fall River. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Cabral. And last but not least, City Councilor Linda Pereira.
Good evening. I'm Linda Pereira, City Council Vice President and candidate for mayor. Let me begin by thanking the Fall River School Department for providing us with this wonderful auditorium, and all of you who are attending and those watching from home. Thank you to Spindle City Straight Talk for hosting this debate and all the people who worked hard to make it happen. Tonight, I'm here to answer your questions and listen to your concerns. I'm here to share my plan to move Fall River forward in the right direction. My plan will offer solutions, not promises, solutions to concerns that you, the people of Fall River, have expressed to me. When I made a decision to run for mayor, I thought about how much this city had changed in the 16 years that I've been on the council, and how much it changed in a lifetime that I've spent living in Fall River. Experience from life brings with it perspective and understanding that is an immeasurable asset in the decision-making process of a mayor. I understand we need to build this city back brick by brick, but the foundation of Fall River is its people, and the only way back is with its people. You are the mortar that holds the foundation of this city together, but we are all shareholders in this city that we call home. We must come together to share in its success, or we will all be responsible for its failures. My plan will be to return the quality of life we once had, bring back jobs, control out-of-control spending, and most of all, make the citizens and the taxpayers of Fall River our priority. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Pereira. Okay, the questions that have been submitted by Fall River voters. They've been adjusted slightly, but the idea behind them, like I said, comes from voters themselves. So the first question, going to Jordan James Sylvia. So over the past few years, the Pay As You Throw program has not reached the goals that previous mayors have set. Some voters feel that it hurts people who cannot afford the cost. As mayor, would you continue to support this program or work out a different form of funding to replace it?
Sure. So I don't agree with the premise of the question. It's either keep what we have now, which by all accounts is a terribly failing program, except I believe Councilor Cabasaris wants to keep the program going. Every other person I believe I spoke to said it's never raised the revenue it's supposed to. I've been opposed to it from day one. Recalled Will Flanagan for Linda Pereira and him bringing it to the city of Fall River, along with the $10 fee and all the other craziness. I've been against every complete consistency from me across the board. I've been proposing getting rid of municipal trash collection. Period. We should be behind things like composting. Also, if people right now, if you do privatize right now, self-privatize and pay into a third-party collection company, you're still paying, your general tax funds are still paying for people that do use the city services. So even if you get out of it, I believe if they do keep this program going, people should at least get some sort of subsidy on their taxes because you're still paying for other people's trash. Same thing with schools, with public schools. I know it's a little bit of a diversion, but same thing. If you send your kid to a private school, you shouldn't be paying the same amount of taxes. You're taking $13,000 expenditure out of, off the city. Obviously, the state pays 80% of that. But yeah, no, I've been against trash. I've been against incinerators. I would let free people make their own decisions. No one at this table, myself included, can come up with some great program that's going to make everybody happy regarding trash. So my solution is to let people make that for themselves. These people all want to get into office. They think they have great ideas. I know people spoke about plans already. They have all the plans. They want to talk about what they're going to do now. They've been in office. They've had authority over the last 20 years or the last 2 years, and they haven't done anything. We have the same problem. So I'll leave it to them to hear what their plans are. But I'm going to actually, I would get rid of the trash 100%. I haven't had the authority to do so. I've never been in elected capacity. The second I would, it'd be gone. That's pretty much it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sylvia. Councilor Capaceris, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Rubello. And you're going to hear a lot tonight that people are going to do away with trash bags. I've been hearing that throughout the entire campaign. The big question is, there's a revenue shortfall in the event that we do that. So we have to come up with the money elsewhere. Where are we going to come up with that? So ultimately, we have to realize that there's a couple of benefits to trash bags. One, it increases recycling. And two, it's the fairest form of tax that there actually is because the more you use, the more you pay. But some people flatly cannot afford this. So we need to do more to make sure it's affordable for everybody. And the best way to do that is by making sure that people have access to bags. So the second that I walk through the door, I'm going to work towards reducing the cost of bags by 50 cents. So we're talking about $1.50 per bag. And I'm going to work with social service entities in order to be able to make people who have free or reduced, who have fixed incomes or limited incomes, have access to free or reduced bags. So that way we can make sure compliance is 100% and we can enforce it appropriately so that way we have enough revenue in order to be able to pay this bill. The only other option is completely doing away with trash, and I don't see that being feasible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Capaceris. Mr. Cabral, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
I would get rid of pay-as-you-throw. I think it's a ridiculous program. I started when I started running for mayor. I was asked to be on the floor of community media, and I says, "What do you choose, medication or trash bags?" I'll get rid of this. People coming up to me, "I will get rid of trash bag." I think it's totally ridiculous. The bags don't even work. You probably 2 trash bags. And I went to the other day. I was at CVS, and there were a lot of trash bags. So I guess they're selling them, but where's the revenue coming from? And I'll get rid of pay-as-you-throw programs first day as in office. Do a program and invite the public to what their opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cabral. Mrs. Pereira.
Purple bags, trash, they have been a problem since the inception. I voted against the trash bags. I voted against the 10-year contract. Who gets into a 10-year contract? First of all, what you need to do is calculate all of the costs accurately. Because as a counselor, we're given different amounts of the revenue that is sustained through bags. We don't have accurate figures. It was a knee-jerk reaction. That's what happens when you have poor leadership. And let me tell you, when I brought Casella into Fall River to handle our recycling, if people would have listened to me, we would have had our recyclables taken for free for 20 years and had a plant built right here in Fall River to employ 200 people to start. So don't say that I've sat there and I don't know what I'm doing. I brought plenty of good ideas forward, but you can't do it from your council seat. But one thing, people of Fall River will be involved. Thank you.
Can I clarify
Thank you,
one
Council.
thing? Can I rebut and clarify one thing?
I will give you 1 minute.
Sure. Council Pereira, if you mentioned that you sat there and didn't do, I don't mean about the trash thing specifically. I meant on the budgeting process. For the past 20 years, you admittedly did not know that you guys could reduce the budget items. So I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't saying on the trash issue. Obviously, it's only been around. The trash problem itself has been, looming for a long time while you were in office. But I wasn't referring to that directly. Just wanted to clarify that.
And I can respond?
Yes, you have 1 minute.
Then you need to pay attention, because I had been saying over and over and over again, the landfill is going to close, and what are we going to do? And even when we took the acreage on the side of the landfill that was contaminated, if it wasn't for me, the city would have given that land to Republic, and they would have cleaned up the contamination there, and we wouldn't have got a dime. And because of me, we're close to $1 million in coming back to the city. So I've been around for a while, Jordan, and I appreciate everything that you say, but I don't think that you were paying attention 16 years ago.
Sure, we got $1 million.
that, I yield.
You just said we got $1 million. We have a $7 million
Silva, that's
a
not
year
a formal rebuttal.
cost.
You've not asked
ahead.
for the floor.
Thank you.
Next question. This one goes to Councilor Cabaceres. You'll have 2 minutes for your response. Fall River has once again used the maximum 2.5% property tax increase, along with raises in water, sewer, administrative fees. These taxes and fees are affecting those on fixed incomes who must pay for housing and medication with meager funds. What can you do to reduce taxes and fees or give relief to those affected?
And that's a great question. I think the first thing that we have to do is have to start spending taxpayer dollars more wisely. We're spending money on things like marketing campaigns that don't end up being anything. Going to lavish hotels and hiring friends because of the fact that they're friends, as opposed to doing what's right and hiring the best person possible for the job, or not hiring anybody instead of creating a new job. So we need to do more to be able to save money. But the second piece is we have to do more to be able to bring more business in, because the best way to be able to help people who are on fixed income with their tax burden is by bringing businesses in who pay more than double the amount of tax revenue than residences do. For years, we've been building single-family residents in the city of Fall River and saying, well, it's going to generate more tax dollars. But meanwhile, people have been squeezed more and more by tax pressure because of the fact that single-family residents aren't paying the bills. We need to do more to bring businesses in. They're paying double the amount of taxes, they create jobs, and they help people stay in the city of Fall River after graduating from high school and going to college. And after we do that, it's not going to happen overnight, but by starting today and working hard to bring these businesses in that pay middle-class wages, living income wages, by working today, 5 years down the road, we could look at something like reducing taxes instead of increasing it from 2.5% per year, increasing it maybe 1.5%, see how that goes, then 1%. The thing is we grow slowly. We don't just make a jump all at once. That's not the way that you would do it in your household, and that's not the way I recommend we do it in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cabaceres. Mr. Cabral, you have a 1 minute.
It's all about the business people, from the Tip Seagull to the Gyraria restaurant. We're opening a brand new movie theater in our South End once again. It's all about the jobs. You have to talk to business owners. And like downtown area, I remember going with a kid, walking down. I was out this morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, campaigning, talking to people. I'm on the streets, block by block, street by street. It's all about you guys. You're the taxpayers. You want to bring business to City of Fall River, you got to talk to the business owners. Dan Rigo, he wants to bring business to Fall River too. He's a bricklayer. He knows what it is about the unions. It's all about Fall River. Why people are moving out of this city. We have to keep people in Fall River. Our youth is moving out. We have to think about their future. It's all about them, and I will make sure we get more business to our city where we love in Fall River. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cabral. Councilor Pereira, please.
I've got to tell you, as a property owner, and I also own income property, I can tell you firsthand, I know what these fees are doing. I didn't support the water and sewer fee. You can't go up 2.5% on people's taxes and increase all the fees as well. But remember, we got rid of that $10 trash fee, right? Where do you think the money came from? Because everything else was raised. Raising taxes should be a last resort, not a first option. And I agree that you do need to bring in business, because business is what generates the revenue for our community. And it's great to have big businesses like Amazon, and companies like that. What about our small business people here? What are we doing for the small businesses here to keep them here, to let them expand? I know I've been working with a company on expansion, and the problems to expand in Fall River and to have streamlining for business, it's unreal. Those are the reasons that I'm running, because I've had it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Sylvia.
Thank you. Just going to hit a couple points that were just raised. I heard Councilor Cavaceres say, we got to bring in all these businesses. We just had that city council hearing on the package store down at South Coast Plaza. They're going to say what they're going to do. All they have to do is stop doing what they do now. And like people are coming here wanting to do business without, their input, their, action at all. And when they do, they get subjected to like a 5-hour like total political dog and pony show, which was embarrassing to watch from my living room. The redevelopment authority just came out after that. I posted the very next day that the city of Fall River has very few liquor licenses when compared to other communities. Even Seekonk, where Councilor Kadim is the city administrator there, I think they're like ranked 40th out of over 300 communities as far as the wettest towns in Massachusetts. But when it came to this issue, I think they wanted to in the beginning, and then everyone sees this at all the meetings. It's all you're trying to guess what they're doing by what their motivations are, because it's all political and who's friends with who and who's trying to get deals for who. It's just they need to just get out of the way of people that are coming here wanting to open up businesses in the city of Fall River.
Thank you, Mr. Sylvia. On to our next question. This one is going to Mr. Cabral. Mr. Cabral, fiscal responsibility is an issue amongst voters. How can you ensure that the monies raised are not being allocated improperly so that departments such as safety and education are properly funded? You have 2 minutes, sir.
It's all about this people. You choose us to be our next mayor. We're running up here because we care about our city. It's all about public safety, education, economic development. If you don't have the money, and I don't want to raise taxes, that's all I do is raise taxes. And the first day in office, I'll make sure I will look at the budget and see what I can do. It's all about the community that I love.
Thank you, Mr. Cabral. Councilor Pereira?
It's not the amount of money that we have, it's how we spend our money. $10 million being spent on streetscapes while our residents have potholes on their streets and can't get by their sidewalks. Go downtown. Many people have wheelchairs or walkers in some of the elderly developments, and they can't pass by the sidewalks. It makes no sense. It's really looking and focusing at exactly where money is spent. And one of my colleagues just stated the money that was spent on branding. We had what, one commercial that's playing that has the mayor in it? When the council, and he was on the council when we voted, no public official or candidate should be in any promotional videos from this city. So that was a waste of money. And hiring people and companies from out of town. What is wrong with the people of Fall River? I pushed to get residency requirement. I want Fall River people working in Fall River jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Sylvia?
Sure. So fiscal responsibility, as I already alluded to earlier in my opening, if you don't practice that in your own life, you're not going to do that in your public life. It makes no sense. If you can't manage your own finances, you're not going to do that with other people's money, strangers. Councilor Pereira, I again, watching these meetings, I remember the infamous moment with the ramen noodles comment where, the city of Fall River gets $280 million of your money every year. God forbid if they were to cut back, it goes up every year. That's what they tell you. They tell you things go up every year. You're going to pay more every year. You're going to like it. Shut up. They don't care. But for you and your family and all these, we know the demographics in Fall River. I always go back to this 80% free or reduced lunch in Fall River. But those are the people that already get free lunch in school, but they're also going to, eat ramen noodles more so the city can get more money because they don't know how to spend money responsibly. They've never practiced that. Watch every meeting, watch every debate, watch every budgetary whatever. They do not know how to fiscally and responsibly spend people's money, so they don't do it. They talk about it, they don't do it. It's in practice. It's right in black and white.
Time, sir. Councilor Capaceras?
It's a shame that we have all had the opportunity to answer this question, and not once the answer how has been answered, or the question how has been answered at all. So let me kind of talk a little bit about what I've done in order to be able to make sure I can do this. I've operated as a financial advisor for 6 years. I've helped people not only generate money with their own money, but I've helped develop budgets, and I've helped the develop budgets so they can grow their businesses, so they can increase their profit margins. And fiscal responsibility is something we need to focus on. We need to stop spending lavishly. We need to start focusing on the pillars of what every budget should be built on, and that's public safety, education, and economic development. Focusing on those parts of the budget first, we will spend more fiscally responsible because we realize that those are the key needs of the residents of the city of Fall River.
Thank you, Councilor Capaceras. For our next question, this one will be going to Councilor Pereira. Violence, drugs, and trafficking continue to be an issue in Fall River. What measures will you take to improve civic safety and health?
Well, drugs, it's a problem that's throughout our nation. As working as a social worker, I have seen firsthand the horrors that drug addiction causes families. The first thing, the priority of the law enforcement should be getting the dealers. They're the murderers of our mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. I'm opposed to the expansion of a treatment facility in the North End. I do have compassion for those in recovery, and I think we have to look at education, prevention, and aftercare, because we're failing to do that. But this is a statewide problem, and the legislature needs to be involved. There needs to be a regional approach. We cannot be the treatment center for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We do our fair share, and other communities need to step to the plate and start doing their fair share. And drug addiction, when I look at the lives of young people that we have lost, it's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. But I think here in Fall River, we go above and beyond to help people in our community with an addiction, to provide them with the treatment resources necessary, and I believe that other communities better start stepping up to the plate and doing their share. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Sylvia, your rebuttal.
I disagree that Fall River does as best as we can, or our fair share, whatever. The 100% of the people I've ever brought to get drug treatment were sent on their way that same day, so that doesn't exist. That's a myth by politicians. As far as guns and the interrelation with drugs, I saw that this previous public safety meeting. My stance is, if I was the mayor tomorrow, I'm ending the war on drugs in Fall River. So you just heard Councilor Pereira say, we need to get the drugs off the street. That's never happened. That never will happen. No serious person believes that's going to happen. That's political rhetoric pandering to voters. If she really thinks that, that's unfortunate, because even Richard Nixon, as dumb as he was to start the war on drugs, didn't have the benefit of 50 years of hindsight that this gentleman has, that she has. So to think that we're going to all of a sudden do great at getting drug dealers off the street, that's not. If anything, that's fueling further violence. If I've already had this conversation recently, as far as if you were to curb the supply of drugs, it's just going to become more valuable, and that's really what's behind. You heard Chief Dupierre recently say 99% of the recent shootings, actually of this whole year, have been drug related. So they're actually creating, I think, not creating, but fueling this violence problem with their completely antiquated, ignorant, back-headed stance on drugs.
Councilor Capaceras, please.
Thank you. Everyone watching this today knows someone who's dealing with the opioid epidemic or has dealt with it in the past. People are dying on our streets, and the situation is getting worse, not better. I agree, we can't attack this issue the same way that we have over the past 20, 30, 40 years. But we need to start focusing on what we can do as opposed to what we can't do. And that's not appointing people who we know as opposed to who's the best people for the job. We have to realize it's a global issue, so it needs a global solution. It's bigger than our city, so we need to think bigger. Solutions, not excuses. Again, that's what we need. So I am advocating for a two-pronged approach. First, we need to get early intervention people into schools to talk to kids about the dangers of not only using a street drug, but using a prescription drug. Second, we need to work together with other gateway cities, Lawrence, Lowell, New Bedford, Taunton, who are facing the same exact issues that we are. And we can work together in order to be able to come up with real solutions in order to be able to attack this issue as a statewide approach, as opposed to just the burden being pushed onto the gateway cities. Thank you.
Rebuttal? No.
let me get through this item,
Sure.
I'll give you a rebuttal.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Cabral?
Yes, I will have a program and go inside the schools and teach about the drug program. I see it every day. As tomorrow at the candlelight vigil, and I will be attending. It's all about the kids. That's our future. I see it in the parks every day when I go to a park with my godchild. I walk up the street sometimes, you see a needle on the street, and when a kid comes up to me, I'm like, I see a needle on the street. What do you do to a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old? Do not pick it up. When I ran for mayor a couple more years ago, I said the same thing. We're going to have public forums and think about the community and you guys to come down and the road to recovery. And it's all about have more forums, and you all the voters, about all our program, and I'm ready to roll up my sleeves, and this is my main issue with the first day in office as mayor.
Mr. Sylvia, you have 1 minute.
Sure, just real quickly, to Mr. Cavasaris' point about education, that's frequently raised. I don't believe there's many people left on earth that don't realize drugs are bad. Drug addicts would be the first person to tell you. Anyone who knows drug addicts, which we've already conceded, everyone in this room and everyone watching at home probably knows someone struggling with drugs. People know drugs are bad. But there's also been a call for like specifically, I'd shut down the vice unit. I think it's actually causing more problems. People do drugs because they have problems. We don't need to like break their legs even further and give more consequences to people who are already using because they have problems in their lives. It doesn't make sense. It makes the problem worse. Once we do grab these people, throw them in jail, they go to Dartmouth, they're sitting into an environment that is, we take all these people with problems and put them in an environment where you have to be violent and engage in criminal behavior just to survive. By the way, there's drugs all in the jail, so the whole process right now doesn't work. It's not a real solution. So I'm looking for harm reduction strategies as taking place in Portugal, other countries around the world. It's not rocket science. I didn't invent the idea, but anybody who doubles down on the war on drugs is harming the city of Fall River. Thank you.
Mr. Cabaceres, you have 1 minute.
Mr. Rebello, thank you for the opportunity to rebut. I think that it's important not only that we focus on what we're currently doing in order to be able to help people kick the habit, but we need to start giving people access to things like counseling, social work so they can find places to live so they can kick the habit, and access to jobs, real living wage jobs so they can maintain a productive lifestyle. Only then we're going to be able to solve this issue. Only then are we going to start being able to make sure that people not only kick the habit, but stay clean. Otherwise, we're going to continue to stumble over ourselves and make the problem worse, not better.
Councilor Pereira, you can have 1 minute.
There's just one thing that I want to add. One thing that I can tell you that I'm not going to do is hire a drug czar that's my friend and mentor to go stay at the Ritz Hotel. However, if there is issues, and there are issues with drugs, you bring experts to the table, and that's something that we as a community have failed to do. There needs to be a group of individuals in the city that are expert in dealing with addiction. You can only work well if you work together and there's communication with others. And that's something this leadership has failed immensely. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Question will be going to Mr. Sylvia. As mayor, will you present a budget that is clear and easy to understand and follow, where all plans and projects for the year are listed by department and clear, concise dollar figures for the year are presented?
Sure. So I've heard that criticism already thrown out there, I believe, by Councilwoman Pereira, that they don't even get. That was kind of alarming to me because you figure, as people in the community, we try to, the very few of us that actually try to follow what's going on. I sit at home at night in bed on my phone, pouring over PDFs of the last 10 years of budgets and whatnot. Not everyone does that. 0.1% of people in Fall River do that. But to say that maybe the information that we're given, I've always found that there's no money hidden. I know people say that we need an audit, we need an outside audit. There's the crazy rhetorical or platitudes that people throw out there. I don't think that is the case. I think the money is in black and white. I think if you're on the city council, you have access to all the department heads and whatnot. I do understand they work for the mayor. I do know, as everyone in this audience knows, and they'll probably admit, there's such a disconnect and there's basically a combative scenario between the two houses of government in the city of Fall River, between the city council and the mayor, that it wouldn't surprise me if they are not on the same page. I've seen petty arguments. So it goes back down to, I'm here, if I'm elected, I'm here to actually solve problems. I'll work with people I may not necessarily like, okay, who are sitting in the seats, people on the council, people anywhere in the community, if they're going to have, and I've heard, I see Cliff Ponte here, he's already given advice to people running, don't criticize people in office because you may have to work with them. Listen, if you represent the city of Fall River and you're going to hold grudges, petty grudges from campaign things and not solve problems as a result, you should step down immediately. That's not what it's here for. Linda's a professional. I see her every time I see her in the post office, I see her outside. Hey, Jordan, how you doing? She knew I was coming in here to lambaste her tonight. She doesn't care because I guarantee you tomorrow, if I was mayor tomorrow, I know none of these people are actually going to be on the council. If she was on the council, we would work together on any issue that I felt actually saves the people of Fall River money or increases their rights and freedoms, because that's the only thing as a libertarian I'm here to do. So I wouldn't care about, now if they wanted to, not reciprocate, which has been the criticism that they lay out on the mayor, that'd be up to them, but I'd publicize it all for the public, and they can all make their own decisions.
Thank you. Councilor Capaceras.
I think it's important that the budget be clear and easy to follow because the budget is a complicated document. But we also have to realize that what happens in the budget and what happens behind the scenes with the actual dollars are two different things. So when we are asking for information, it's very difficult to come by some of that. For instance, I asked at a meeting recently, what is the unfunded liability of comp time in the police department? We couldn't get that information. And there's been multiple times that I've asked for information from the administration and couldn't get that. So what I'm working to do is making sure that the entire council have a seat at the table. I work with everybody, not just a select few, but all councilors, to make sure that they have access to not only me, but the city administrator and the CFO in order to be able to make sure that they understand the budget. Because that's important. That's the most important document that they rule on, whether they decide to reduce, accept, or reject. They need to understand it fully, and that's something that I want to work with every single councilor in order to be able to accomplish.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Cabral.
As mayor, it is a important document in the city. I've attended to those budget meetings. I've been attending a lot of events at school committee meeting. But that's a main issue. We always think about the money, but you're the taxpayers. We represent you. And it's all about education, public safety. I was attending that public safety meeting, and I don't think that's right. We have an awesome police force, fire department. We have awesome department heads. But I'll have a meeting once a month and go over that budget every single month, and with all the city councils. That's how it should work. Teamwork is the key.
Thank you very much. Councilor Pereira.
Being on the city council, the years that I have, many budgets are very different on the scope and the way that the budget is presented to the council. I need to tell you that this administration has been the worst administration to sit down and go over the budget. Zero-based budget sounds good, but that usually takes years to get in place. It's not something that you do one year. And I will say that when you go in and there is a budget meeting and you get one piece of paper with 3 items, you don't get a picture of that. Other administrations, they've gone over the budget, and you have time to weigh in. Supposedly, we received the budget early. We didn't receive it early because then the budget was taken back and revised, and then we got a copy of it. So it wasn't even submitted early. School department budget has been better than it was in the past. Rather than just line items with numbers, you actually have people's names, so you could see that the same number wasn't used in various spots of the budget. You got a better picture of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Silva, you want a minute?
Sure, a quick rebuttal. I heard Councilman Capaceras say, we got to work with everyone. I ran 2 years ago, and as you get to attend these meetings and people at home are watching, and it seems like the few, we're a couple weeks away from a primary, the few months of campaign season before that, everyone's working with everybody. Linda has on her signs, now's the time. Forget the last term, forget the last, however many decades with people she didn't agree with, and absolutely did not work with them. Actively worked, to cause chaos in the government whenever that was the mission. Also, again, it doesn't matter what your intention is, even if the numbers are good and the budget is clear. If you have a job for 20 years as a city councilor and you don't know how to pass a budget in the city of Fall River, which is the most, important responsibility that they have, you don't know how to do that. It doesn't, does it even matter what the budgets are? You don't know, you're not asking questions clearly, you can't research clearly your own power and authority to do the job you have now that people have entrusted you with. People of Fall River don't know any better because they don't read the laws, so they just think that you know what you're doing, Linda, and you didn't know what you were doing.
Would you like a minute?
I would just like to say, it is so refreshing to hear Mr. Sylvia, just come and criticize Councilor Cabaceres and myself when he's never held an elected position. That's all I want to say. This is about the people. This is about the people. Come up with your ideas.
Audience, please. Thank you.
I did know how to pass a budget, though, Linda. It's
You
written
do not
out
have the
in Mass
floor.
General
You
Law
do
what
not
your
have the
authorities are.
floor. You do not have the floor, sir.
Okay,
Okay. If you request the floor, that's one thing.
sure.
Let's move on to the next question, please. Next question goes to Councilor Cabaceres. During recent elections, candidates have claimed that they will begin to repair the street and infrastructure in Fall River. Citizens continue to file claims against the city for damages. What plans, if any, do you have to help repair the crumbling streets and infrastructure?
Well, this is one of the things that I focused on, the opioid epidemic, this, public safety, education, economic development. I actually have my plan in writing on how we can actually solve this issue. First, we need to get everybody in the same room who is digging up our streets. We need to get the gas company, the electric company, the cable company, the water department, the sewer department, everybody in the same room, and talk about what their plan is, what their long-term plan is. And then when they start having that conversation, we can say, hey, maybe you two companies are doing the same street at the same time. We can repave half this road with your dollars, and we can do it with city dollars for quarters on the dollar. And then we can actually start a repaving program. We haven't seen our city streets repaved as a big project in a long time. Because of that, our city streets are crumbling because of age. They're past their useful life, and we need to do more. You deserve more. Driving down the streets, hitting a pothole, blowing your tire, bending your rim, and ruining your front end is too costly, and that's in addition to the cost of living on people on fixed incomes and limited incomes. We need to do more. You deserve more, and I have a plan in place in order to be able to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Cabral?
Today, I was in the park. We can't fix our parks right. I was in Ruggles Park and I took a digger. We got to fix our parks first, repair our streets. I was on Sprague Street in the feast this weekend, and there's a big pothole right in the middle of Sprague Street. It's totally ridiculous. We got to fix our streets first for the $10 million project for our streets. You can't even walk on the sidewalk with a pipe sticking out of the sidewalk. If a handicapped person comes up, how can you get over the bump? It's totally ridiculous. We've got to fix our streets. You drive our streets every day. We all drive our streets with motorcycles. Someone get killed with a motorcycle, hit a pothole. I think that pothole on over Brayton Ave is still not even fixed yet. And these guys go every single day, they're fixing our streets. I think it's totally, we got to fix our streets first to bring more economic development to our city.
Thank you, Mr. Cabral. Councilor Pereira?
Well, one of the things, it's not how much money we have to fix our streets, but how we use them. And I think Councilor Pont was the one that came up with a statement about getting some cost share with other companies. I did file a resolution, and it was talked about at the council meeting regarding Liberty Utility, because they do have to fix gas leaks. That's important, but they're fixing them. And if they're ripping up more than a certain percentage of the street, there should be a cost share to repair that street. But even the claims that we receive, if a claim is received because someone blew out their tire or their rim, within 24 hours, there should be notification and that pothole should be filled. You know it's there, you receive the claim, it should be filled. I think the priority should be on the people and the taxpayers of Fall River and not on the $10 million for beautification of streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Sylvia?
It just reminds me of a joke a friend of mine, David Folger, posted online the other day about Fall River is turning more libertarian because of the crumbling conditions of the streets. I thought that was pretty funny. Just want to address what Linda said about me never being elected. Obviously, I concede that, which is why I've never been responsible for the conditions of the infrastructure in the city of Fall River as they have been, for decades in her case. You can have all, I have plans for this. I don't understand why tonight, 2017, August 30th, my anniversary, by the way, this is how I'm spending it. I'm hearing about plans from these people when they've been in charge, they've been, responsible, and they're talking about what they're going to do. I agree with Rich. I don't want to hear about plans either. I also don't want to hear your specifics of your plan. I want to know why you didn't do anything. That's why I also, part of what I want to do is take away any compensation for city councilors, cut the mayor's salary in half because I don't think they're worth what we're paying them now. The city council should be a public service to the city of Fall River, and I see people running for it because I actually think they need the money, and I just don't think that's a reason why some people are leaving office now. But yeah, I don't want to hear about plans. I want to know why you didn't do your job.
All right. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Next question.
Excuse me, Mr. Rebello.
Oh, I didn't go. Sorry. Go ahead, Counselor.
Well, I appreciate your statements, Mr. Sylvia, and you know what? We did do something about it. There was a resolution filed by Councilor Liberty LeBeau to take money back from the Streetscapes project, and we ended up turning it into an order. We ended up taking $5.3 million to start a repaving program in the streets of Fall River. Not just to do pothole repairs, but to repave our city streets. That was the first step in an effort in order to be able to start repaving around the entire city. But again, I'd like to ask how? How are these things going to be accomplished? I'm clearly laying out how we can do each and every one of these things. But I'm not hearing that at this point in time. And I want to hear how, because I'm not only the only person who wants to hear it, but I've been talking to people on the streets every single day, and I'm hearing the same thing from them. They don't want to hear the same jargon. People of Fall River want to hear how the situation is going to get better, and that's what I'm trying to deliver. Thank you.
Mr. Sylvia, you have 1 minute rebuttal.
Sure. So again, we just heard you can't have it both ways, Rich. You can't be the streets are crumbling and we got the job done. The two things are mutually exclusive. They don't coexist. So I don't know which one it is. Even the current administration had a press conference the other day talking about like a mission accomplished statement with the potholes. It's September, the end of this week, right? They said they just completed their pothole survey, and now they're going to start filling them. The problem is the spring's gone, the summer's gone, fall's here. It's going to take them a month or two, so they'll get them all paved right in time to trash them again. So clearly, you don't wait until whatever godforsaken time they did start. They didn't get it accomplished. Every day you drive down the street in Fall River, it speaks for itself. It's the opposite of what the politicians are saying. Actually, they are saying we need to do better jobs, but they were in office. They didn't do a better job. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Sylvia. All right. Next question. This question will be starting with Mr. Cabral. The police department staffing numbers have never recovered from the 2009 levels. However, crime has increased in the city. What is your plan to increase the police staffing levels, and where will the money for the funding come from? You have 2 minutes, sir.
Even though I work for the police department as a crossing guard, but I care about the kids. And we see on Facebook every day break-ins, stabbings, shootings, but our police go above and beyond. And we'll make sure our police department is fully staffed. Once again, we lay off people in the city of Fall River. I don't think that's a good idea. But the Harold Lewis asked me what's his plan, and I'll make sure my first 3 months of office with the department heads and public safety, education, have with all department heads and work as a team, because we all got to work as a team in my administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Pereira, please.
Well, I'll tell you, having worked in the DA's office, I can tell you that I have firsthand knowledge of the crime in the city. What really appalls me is that I've seen this administration have press conferences over things that I think are silly to have press conferences over. I think there'll probably be one on a letter opening next week. But what the police department did in this budget, to take a police officer out of the ATF, we had a position that was an ATF position for alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Any overtime was paid by the feds. Why would you get rid of that position when we are having the shootings that we're having? They got rid of Spot Shotter. It might not have been a perfect program, but it's a tool. And to not have a press conference about the crime and the shootings that are going on in the city really appall me. I think that when you have individuals who retire from the police department, it's almost a year or so before somebody's trained and someone gets back in. That money from that salary should not go into the general fund. It should go into the police department and should be reinvested within the police department. And yes, the fact is we do need more police officers. And we've asked to take money out of stabilization to do that right now because this is a crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Mr. Sylvia.
Just quickly on the premise that we need more police on the streets and crime is out of control. I heard that from Councilor Liberty LeBeau. Also, Mr. Cabaceras at the last meeting jokingly, Chief Dupere, what are the shooting numbers at? I know it's out of control. He's like, no, actually they're flat. You know what I mean? So sometimes the reality doesn't fit the political narratives 2 weeks before a primary election. So also I reject the premise that, adding police per se is going to increase public safety. That's such a simplistic view of the universe that clearly, would come from a politician and makes no sense in reality. I already said I would be for shutting down the vice unit, their activities, trying to go on Backpage and find girls who have drug problems, prostituting themselves to bring. It doesn't seem like a good use of police manpower. All these veteran detectives, you could put them to whatever other activity that doesn't involve. Also, you heard during that last meeting, $400 to have one police officer on overtime shift. I've always advocated for bringing on volunteers. I went to UMass with people who worked for minimum wage as police officers in Newton, other towns regionally. So you could pay people a lot less and put more police on the streets that way, if that's something we want to do.
Oh, you're over. Okay. Counselor Cabaceras, your minute.
It's interesting because everybody continues to talk about the problem, but there hasn't been a solution proposed at this point in time, except for Mr. Sylvia. And that's not what the people of Fall River deserve. You know the problem. We need to come up with the solutions by working together with you. Not only the solutions, but how we're going to implement them. So I believe in solutions, not excuses. We need to work with all 9 city councilors to make sure that public safety, education, and economic development are the first things that are considered when we build a budget before anything else. And then we'll be able to get the manpower up to safe levels. So that way we can start making sure that our streets are safer. Because right now, people are afraid to walk down the streets, not only during the night, but at the daytime. And that's concerning to me. You talk to some of these folks out there, and they're really concerned. So we need to build our budget based on the 3 pillars: education, economic development, and public safety.
Thank you, Counselor. Would you like 1 minute?
Sure, just real quickly. Again, I hear from Councilor Cabaceras say, we do have to work together with the council and the mayor. I'm just going to ask the people in this audience, the people at home, is that what you see on a bi-monthly basis at city council meetings, at any of these events that take place? Do you see a city council working with the mayor to find? It all sounds fantastic, right? It sounds fantastic at a debate 2 weeks before a primary. Rich, you're going to sit there and tell me that's what you guys have been doing for the last 2 years? That's what you've been doing sitting in that seat? That's what you've been doing? I yield so you can have your rebuttal. And you can tell me if you've been working with your fellow councilors and the mayor's office to improve the situation in Fall River. Go ahead.
Counselor Cabaceras, 1 minute.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Sylvia. And one of the issues is you can try to compromise all day long. You can stand on that 50-yard line all day long. If somebody's not even willing to walk out to the 10-yard line, there's no compromise. And unfortunately, that's what's been happening.
Don't blame the other side, Rich.
And I'm not. Let's take a look at streetscapes. I supported streetscapes. I was willing to support one project for $900,000. I was told I'm spending $10 million by the administration. I said I can't support that. And because of that, the council ended up working well together in order to be able to take $5.3 million back from that project to start a repaving program around the city. That's working together. That's compromise, because originally I wanted $8 million from that project. But that's compromise. Being willing to bend, realizing that there's something on the table that everybody can agree upon, and reaching that solution. That's what I want to continue to do if you give me the opportunity to serve as your next mayor.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the questioning portion of our debate for this evening. We will now go to closing remarks. Councilor Pereira, you will begin.
Am I able to?
Would you like 1 minute?
I would. I would.
Councilor Pereira, 1 minute.
I think that it's important to know, I myself have worked with several mayors. I have never seen an administration like this one. As Vice President of the Council and leadership of the Council, counselors speak to me. We have counselors who do not want to meet with the mayor alone for fear that he's not going to say what you said or say something else, because that happens all the time. I won't meet with the mayor alone. So if that's what we're working with, it's not fair to the people of Fall River. It's not fair. So the council has stepped up and taken some steps opposed to the administration because we can't get the administration to listen and to compromise. Just like with the privatization. He lied and said that he got a bid from Republic. He did not get a bid from Republic. And he said that twice. I don't want to work with somebody that lies about things. Whatever the problem is, say it, be open, be honest, and we'll work with that. We'll find a solution. But this is beyond anything I have ever seen, and that's the reason I'm running for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Cabral, did you want a minute?
Yeah, if the mayor cared about the city right now, where is he now?
That's right.
We love our city. He should be here, not a fundraiser on the battleship. We care about our city. We're running for mayor because we love our city. And that's why I want to run the city the right direction, whoever's the next mayor, and work together with all of you. Thank you.
Once again, if there are no further rebuttals, we are done with the question portion of the debate for the evening. Do you have you want another minute, sir?
I just want to give a shout out for those who scheduled the coffee hour for me today, who are watching from home. I'll be seeing you in a little bit after
Wait,
these
you
closing
could
statements.
use that for your closing remarks.
And because of conflict of interest, I'll be over there in a little bit. Thanks.
All right, so now on to closing remarks. Councilor Pereira will begin the closing remarks.
Well, let me begin by thanking everyone for their attention and involvement in our community. Thank you to the moderator, the school department, the hosts, and all those who made this possible. One of our nation's first patriots, Patrick Henry, said, "I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience." I've had the honor to serve as your city councilor for 16 years. And as your city councilor, I've championed Fall River citizens for Fall River jobs with a residency requirement. I fought against closing the airport and created subcommittees on Health and Human Services and the Disability Commission because every resident needs to be represented. The experience I gained in the City Council and in life has taught me to listen to the people. It has shown me that the value of persistence and perseverance. I have made mistakes. Yes, I have. And I've learned from them. I have learned much from my successes, but even more from my failures. Show me someone who's never made a mistake, and I'll show you someone who's never dared to dream or to take a chance. As your mayor, I dare greatly and never stop moving forward. Thomas Edison said, "Our greatest weakness lies in giving up, and the most certain way to succeed is to try one more time." I will not give up on the city I love, and I will only make you one promise, that I will work tirelessly as your mayor, and the only priority I have is the people of Fall River. I am Linda Pereira, and I'm ready to lead. Thank you, and God bless.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We want to allot the same amount of time for everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilor Pereira.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Cabral, you have 2 minutes.
My name is Ronald Cabral. I'm a candidate for mayor in this coming election to move the city forward for a better community, for education, public safety, economic development, to bring the quality of life back to the city again. I support the arts. Public safety, I'll make sure our police and fire are fully staffed to the max, protect the residents of the city of Fall River, and they go above and beyond. As your chair of the school committee, I will work with the superintendent to make sure we get the best education for our children of Fall River and the teachers and administrators. We're going to build a brand new high school in Durfee, where I'm alumni from, and I spoke at one of the meetings. Economic development, the city is building the future. We're building a new mall with 11-screen movie theater with restaurants, restore our waterfront from the Tipsy Seagull to the Jerry Rary restaurant. We have historic buildings, historic churches. As your next mayor, continue to work with the business leaders, the neighborhood association, nonprofit organizations to restore the downtown area for our elderly and residents to be safe to walk the streets block by block, street by street. Together we can make a better place to live and raise a family, work with the city council and residents, elected officials and school committee. For it is a great city to fill with hard-working people. Combined spirit keeps me mindful to great home our city provides. Us inspires to fight for what is the best for all of us. Together we can make for a better place again. Elect Ronald Cabral September 12, 2017 as your next mayor of Fall River. You can visit my mayor page, Ronald A. Cabral for Mayor 2017. I want to thank Rebello and all the people in attendance and people watching at home. It's all about you. And this election is dedicated to my father, but I love my mom, and I wish my brother happy birthday today. I'm here because my brother's birthday. So happy birthday, bro.
Thank you, Mr. Cabral. Councilor Cabaceres, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Rebello, for your patience with this whole process. Thank you, Spindle City Straight Talk, FRC TV, FRC Media, FRG TV, and all of you who came out here today to watch this. Thank you to my team who was out there waving signs with me earlier, and thank you for you who are invested in our community by watching this and making sure that you're informed. For years, we've watched as other parts of our state have grown and thrived, and we've been left in the dust. And part of that is because of the fact that we continue to point fingers and blame other people for what's happening, as opposed to coming up with solutions, leading by example, and working together towards creating a brighter future. We need to stop talking about the problems and not the solutions. We need to recognize the problems. We need to talk about the solutions and how to get them done. I'm advocating that not only I, but everybody sit up here and talk about how. How are you going to do the things that you say that you're going to do? That's important because for years, people say, I will, I promise, and it continues to be failure after failure. You don't deserve that. You've never deserved that. And I want to be the leader by example that you deserve. We can get there again. That takes a strong leader who has a clear vision, a cooperative attitude, and an unimpeachable integrity. But it also takes you working together as neighborhoods, working together with the police department and the fire department, working together with city government in order to be able to allow your city to thrive. I want to help you get there. And the best way that you can do that is by getting out on September 12th and allowing me to serve as your next mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Sylvia, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I feel a little embarrassed I'm up here with no quote from a Kennedy tonight. I hear people, I have no prepared statement to read off of from people smarter than me. I hear the same things every campaign season, and it's I don't know, it's just funny at this point about working together and let's talk about solutions and, you know, we've failed as a community, but by the way, I've been in charge for the last X amount of years. I'm a pretty no-nonsense guy. I imagine people know that about me at this point. I've been in the community for several years, and I just try to propose my philosophy as a libertarian is none of these people, myself included, I see Councilor Ray Mitchell in the back, Ponte, these people are not gonna solve these giant issues. Usually when they do attempt to solve a problem, they generally make things worse. So it's my plan as if I were lucky enough to be elected mayor of Fall River, which would be crazy, to stop the presses, right? That'd be like Armageddon in Fall River. But I'm trying to limit their authority, their control. I've had so much listening to people's radio talk shows and the SAR and the Herald News and the craziness and the meetings. It's really embarrassing because I do know what the city can be. I lived in Fall River my whole life. I've gone, you know, I've traveled the world a little bit, and it's a shame. The city will improve. All the small businesses that exist here, they'll do great in spite of the political craziness and dysfunction and all that. But again, if I were lucky enough to be elected, I'm going to try to end the nonsense as far as all these grandiose plans that people have. I'm more of an austere guy where I just think very basic, very plain. fill potholes. That takes human beings putting asphalt in a hole. I've done it when I came back from Iraq. Very simple stuff. It's not rocket science. I can accomplish that easily, far better than what we've seen with the bureaucracies and different houses of government. So September 12th, vote for Jordan Sylvia. You know what you get at this point, I imagine. So I appreciate it. Again, my mom and my kids back at home, it's my anniversary tonight. I took my time to come out here. I love you guys, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if we could all give a hand to the candidates for coming out tonight and participating in this debate. I think it's important to remember in these times that debate is a crucial part of the democratic process, and I'm very thankful that the people on the panel, as well as the audience, done a great job. You guys should give yourselves a hand for your behavior tonight. Great job.
Good luck to you too.